Dr. Yasmine Saad is an international best-selling author and an award-winning top 3 rated New York City licensed clinical psychologist with a national and international reputation. She has a wellness perspective on mental health issues. She is the founder of Madison Park Psychological Services. Dr. Saad and her team focus on empowering patients to transform their suffering into well-being and see health issues as symptoms meant to guide them to a better life. Dr. Saad is an author of 2 chapters, From Misfortune to Fortune, a transformational journey from pain to empowerment, in the book Ignite Possibilities and 2020 Challenges, and in the book Because You Matter, personal and professional stories of healthcare warriors during COVID-19. She has been featured in various media outlets including WNYW, Fox 5, Good Day New York, Authority Magazine, Huffington Post, Thrive Global, The National Psychologist, the American Psychological Association, just to name a few. Enjoy this amazing interview with Dr. Saad. Everyone, welcome. It's Bernardo Moya, founder of The Best You, author of The Question. And here I am in another episode of Inspiring People. And today I've got the pleasure of introducing and interviewing Dr. Yasmine Saad. How are you, Dr. Yasmine?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm very excited. We only connected once and had a conversation about the love event. I think we instantly felt that there was a connection, and I wanted to kind of talk to you more because I wanted to kind of expand on your expertise. And obviously, you know, with a lot of the stuff related that I'm more involved in, which is love, I thought, yes, I have to speak to Dr. Yasmine. So very excited to have you here. So look, let's just start with your early years. Where were you born? What was your early years like? Your family? Tell us a little bit more about yourself, please.
Sure. So, I was born in Lebanon, so in Beirut exactly. And my early years were during the war, the Civil War. And there's a funny story about my name, which is I was given my name because it was a religious war and my mom didn't want me to be killed. So my early years were filled with bomb, earthquakes, and my name was given to me so that if I landed in Muslim hands, I would survive, and if I landed in Christian names, I would survive. And ironically, I became a bridge. And so my early years were so formative in my life that it led me to carry this. And everywhere I go, I'm a bit of bridge of religion, bridge of different ways of operating in the world. So those were my early formative years.
And what was school like to you? And obviously, kind of being brought up in a country with conflict, as quite a few people might know that it was quite raw. Like in Spain, we had a civil war, and it had deep scars for a long, long time. What was that like for you?
Well, I spent my first 5 years in Middle East, so it was really more pre-K there. Afterwards, my mom was fed up with everything. And so we moved to Europe. So afterwards, my schooling was in Paris. So I more defined my school years in France, where I was really a foreigner and I was made to feel very much like a foreigner. So it was all about fitting in. It was all about figuring out how to use my French that I knew. It was all about, understanding my place, understanding the society. So from early on, I was very much an observer. So my school years were all about observing, integrating, becoming part of French society.
Well, and funny with the French, it's such a multicultural language, a country, in particular. It's, a lot of European countries are, but I think France in particular, it has such a deep influence for so many different countries and so many cultures. So I also sympathize with you with being an immigrant. I was an immigrant when I moved to London, so I experienced kind of what it is to feel like an outsider. And God, do kids like, even at that age, they can be very mean. But listen, it did give you that ability to have that. You're bilingual, I assume, and kind of you manage French very well, such a beautiful language. So, it's obviously been, again, as you said, like a bridge as opposed to a lot of what you do. So was there in your family in particular, anyone that inspired you, anyone that kind of helped you, put you on the path at a later date?
Yes. So before I answer that question, I want to go back. Yes, I believe everything is a training for oneself, and definitely my friendships were training. I speak 4 languages, and thanks to all the experience I had, I can be where I am right now. So I'm very grateful for all the hardship, because it really trained me and built me to be who I am. So, and in terms of a mentor follower, of course, your parents are always big. And my parents had a dual role. My mother, was telling me, follow your heart. And, one day when I came to her and told her I wanted to become a psychologist, she was like, yes, you go for it. And my dad was more, someone who wanted security, safety for me, wanted success. And when I told him I wanted to become a psychologist, he said, "Or have you lost your mind?" Like, I was set to go to business school. I was very good in math. I excel. I was a good student, and it was a secure path. But it was the death of me. I mean, the idea of managing people's money, I could not see myself there. And so when I came to him, he was like, "Are you nuts?" And and I understand his concern, and I took them into consideration. He had two main worries for me. One, a worry about finance. The second, a worry about my mental health. Listening to people who are not well every day, could potentially make you not well. So it was valid. And so in some way, I had those two mentors for me, both in the encouraging piece and in the warning piece, and they were both instrumental in my journey.
And what made you want to become a psychologist? I mean, I've met many people that, they knew from early years they wanted to be a pilot, or, they wanted to become an architect. I remember I had a friend of mine, I'm going to be an architect. It was like, and he eventually ended up being an architect. So there's a lot of people that have a very clear idea in their mind. I've done many, many different things over the years, but what got you onto that path of wanting to be a psychologist?
I had what we call an ignite moment. As I described, my life was up until, my teenager was a life where I saw a lot of suffering, from the early year to afterwards the immigration year. And I saw the impact on my parents. I saw the impact of losing their home, losing everything, integrating. And I was very much there for my mother, and I was very much there helping her. And I discovered a gift I had. And I had a melodious tone, and at school, everybody would come to me. I was peaceful from the start, and everybody would come to me. And when I was in school in my mathematical section, one day I asked myself, well, what do I want? Because I'm obviously not happy this way. And I realized, well, I love helping. I just love it, comes so easily to me. I love the impact on others. I love that my friend would come to me, before an exam and feel so much better after talking to me. I loved helping my mother. And so it just came to me from one question: what do I want? And then I realized psychologist was it.
Well, look, I mean, I think my book is called The Question, Find Your True Purpose, and it is all about asking yourself empowering questions. So good for you, kind of. And the main question I ask, what are you here for? What is your purpose? So it's good that you've discovered that and at an early year. So, okay, so let's fast forward now a little bit. You became a psychologist. Tell us through the process of, what did you study and how did you end up in the US?
Yes. So, so in France, the journey to become a psychologist is very different. It's like out of high school, you enter college and you start studying psychology, and you become a psychologist within 5 to 6 years. Now, it's a tough path, but you get there. And I was determined and I was motivated. And again, I used my parents' advice. My father was very strict on be the best. And so I became the best, and I became a psychologist at 23 in Paris. And then I was like, okay, what do I do now? Who's going to listen to me at 23? Like, this is not a profession that you want to be young at. So, my family, as you saw, is very international, and a lot of them immigrated. And I have a big family that came in the US, and all my cousins studied in the US. And I always dreamed the life of campus and the international life. And in Paris, I had the highest degree. I had a doctorate degree in psychology, and there was, no more to go in the direction that I wanted. I wanted what we call psychodynamic therapy. So I looked into the US, and I realized in the US, the PhD actually combines clinical work and research. And I love clinical work. And I thought that was my opportunity. So I applied either for an exchange year or to come fully, and I got accepted in both. And I was like, okay, if I go 1 year, I'll come back, it's still the same. So let me go for 5. And that's how it happened. And I believe everything is a series of coincidence. I applied, I didn't know much about the US, so I applied New York. I didn't know that I was applying in the state of New York. So I applied places that I would never put foot in because I didn't know. And the first place that interviewed me ended up being one of the best universities, thank God. And I got accepted. And then it was time for me to go home. I called all the other and they said, no, the interview are not there, are not now. And I went back home and I got all the phone calls. I said, I'm sorry, now I have exam. I cannot go. It's either this one or not. And I got accepted. And here I was on a PhD track. And from there I blossomed. It was my path. It was easy. It was the easiest thing I ever done. Everybody says PhD is hard, but actually for me, psychology was my gift. I loved it. And I already had a tremendous advantage because I had so many years of psychology. A lot of the PhD student here in the US, they only have maybe a master. Well, I already had so much because the 5-year of degree in Paris, they train you for everything. So it was just about now translating it into English.
Amazing, good for you. And obviously you had that approach to globality, and obviously you thought big. I mean, you thought New York. I mean, talk about putting some pressure on yourself. But there's some serious work I'm sure you've done over the years in New York. Anyway, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you so much. All right, so Dr. Yasmine, so now you're in New York, and but before that, I wanted to ask you. I always like asking a lot of my guests, what books that have inspired you, books that you would recommend people read. I've had many, obviously, over the years. I had a phenomenal impact personally, professionally, and even in my career. What about you?
In terms of the books?
Yes. What books really kind of, I don't know, inspired you, gave you kind of, I don't know, a look at life that maybe was different, or you admired the author?
I love that. So I love that question because I have an unconventional answer, which, I read many, many books. Again, I was in a PhD reading 100-page a day. So a lot of books. And what I discovered is the best knowledge is within you. And so I do not recommend books because what I like to recommend is that you learn to look within. And what I teach actually all my students, all the psychologists, is to leave the books aside and tune into your intuition. Your intuition has so much more information than any books out there. So I really like to tap into people's inner potential, inner gift. You have all the wisdom within. And so it's about tapping into it. And so then it's more about learning to listen to your intuition, learning what are the obstacles to your intuition, and going within.
Thank you for that, and that's great advice. I do believe we all have, if we ask ourselves the questions and we tap into our, into that knowledge and wisdom that we all have, we have the resources and the answers. A lot of the time we don't appreciate, how much wisdom we bring even within our DNA, and from previous generations. So Dr. Yasmine, so you're now in New York, and you've obviously had a phenomenal career. I mean, obviously I know you had your PhD at the age of 23. You still look 26. So obviously you've managed to accomplish a lot in a very short period of time. So congratulations. Tell us about what you're doing in New York now.
So right now, I have two paths. I'm a healer and I'm a teacher. In discovering my path, that's what I discovered. So I have a group practice where I have a team of psychologists underneath me that I trained. So I trained every single psychologist, and a lot of them have actually gone and opened their own group practice. I'm starting a new movement of psychologists who integrate Eastern philosophies of healing with Western psychology to provide holistic care to patients. So that's my biggest contribution. And now with COVID, I have felt that I need to have a bigger impact, that if only one person could hear what I tell another person, they will be so much help. So this year, I'm writing a book on decoding your thoughts and emotions so that you can use them to your benefits. Because I believe every single thought and emotion you have is here for a reason, for a purpose, and it's leading you back to you and to helping you rebalance you into your path. So I'm writing a book taking each of the main negative emotion, anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome, guilt, and I'm transforming them and I'm showing people how to do that. And the next step of this journey is to create a TV show or a podcast where people see that. I'm really very big on helping people see that behind everything that happens to them, within them, is a message of love. And if they could only see it, they will move forward empowered and they will accomplish their gift, their mission, their purpose. So that's my big mission.
Well, that's a great mission and a fantastic mission, and it's great that I've obviously anyone, and we'll give all your details later that they can check into your webpage. But obviously, you've got a great team, people that you've trained. So, and this is obviously kind of like a big universal quantifier. But what would you say are kind of the, if any, what would be the common things or the common challenges that people are having, if there is a common one that you're helping people more with now?
I mean, I believe the biggest challenge is people really are stuck with negative emotion and negative thoughts. And I think the biggest challenge is what to do with them, how to transform them, what to do. And I think there are many methods out there, but they're not. People don't know how to implement them. They don't know how to use them. And there hasn't been a holistic, integrative approach to it. So, I am lucky that my journey and my path has led me to discover traditional Chinese medicine and Eastern philosophies and really discover the connection between body, mind, and spirit. And so I think the biggest struggle is that people don't know why they have a negative thoughts. They don't know what to do with it, and they believe it at face value. And so I think the whole world needs education on, igniting moments of and igniting questions, like in your book, about why this particular thought, why this particular emotion, what is it here to tell you about you, to show you about you. And it's not that you're not good enough, and it's not that you failed, and it's not the negative things that we think about our negative thoughts.
And you shared before, and I love your approach, and I believe in with a lot of people, I call it the holistic approach, looking at everything that you do, from what you eat, who you surround yourself with, the things that you read, and obviously making sure that you do ask yourself questions, so you can start tapping into that inner knowledge and wisdom that we have. What would you say in particular? Was you were just saying now around, these are messages of love. Could you expand on that?
Yes. Like, basically, I believe that we are energy being, and therefore your thoughts or your emotion are product of a certain energy. And energy always goes towards light, always is for better and for good. It's never is for negative. And so therefore, even if you're having a negative thoughts are a translation from your mind of a message. So let's look at it. Like, let's say you think you're not good enough. What is the purpose of a thought like that? The purpose is to get good enough. It's just your mind will translate everything you do into a missing or problem. The mind is here to solve problem, to find solution. So it will take a message and decoding into a missing, decode it into a problem. So the worst thing you could do is to believe the message as face value. The best thing you can do is to understand, like, the intention, the movement of the energy. The intention is towards better enough. So thinking that you're not good enough really is showing that you have a taste for good enough and you are not there. And it's about pushing you to ask yourself the question, what is for me good enough? What is it, and why am I not there? And what do I need to get there? and to really examine, and not through external accomplishment, but through internal. Because the second pitfall that most people do is once they discover that, they go on accomplishing it from the outside. And it doesn't lead you to that really good enough.
Well, I completely agree, and I think a lot of the challenges, as you quite rightly pointed out, is we're never taught these skills. We're not taught how to think. We're not taught how to listen to our internal dialogue. In many cases, we have this terrible internal dialogue that's saying all these really bad things to it, and we take it to face value. So could you share, for example, what kind of techniques would you use with someone? Is it about asking them empowering questions? What kind of techniques would you to get them on that path?
Yes. You want to ask yourself a series of empowering questions. The first question is to be curious, to realize, why am I having this thought in this particular moment, in this particular time? And they might not be able to discover the why, but asking yourself this question kind of put a distance between you and the thought, so that you don't believe it at face value and you start being curious about the thought. The second is, what is the purpose of that thought? What is it what is the aim of it? And so in the same token, as I said, it's obvious that thinking not good enough, the intention is to be good enough. So then is asking another question, which is, what is good enough for me? Let's define what it is for you. And then to look further into, if good enough for you is pleasing your boss, let's go further in that. Is it okay? So what is the concept? The concept is being loved. So what is love looking like? And what do you need to be loved by another person? And then you push it to yourself, which is internally within yourself. Like, what do you need to feel love if there wasn't that other person? Because ultimately it's you loving you. If you love yourself, somebody else doesn't have as much impact. So the desire for love on the outside is always a desire for love on the inside. Outside is always a reflection of inside. And so it's asking yourself powerful question to get to the inside. Now, in the book that I'm currently writing, I give detailed step for each of the emotion or the negative, because right now we're talking very globally, very general. It's much harder to define the exact questions, but there are exact questions that you can ask yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm very excited, looking forward to that book. Okay, one more break and we'll be right back. Thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Yasmine, I want to jump into it now. We've got the Love event happening, and for those that are watching or listening to this podcast, well, it was in February, or it is in February 2022. And if not, you probably will see the recording on the Best You TV. But the Love event is all about having real conversations around love, caring, kindness, and most importantly, elevating consciousness. How can we elevate consciousness? Let's start with the basic question. This is a very simple question. What is love to you, Dr. Yasmine?
Oh, I love that. Love to me is an awareness about who you are and an appreciation for who you are. Because when you appreciate who you are, you live in a world of love. And so when you appreciate everything that happens within you and outside of you, you live in a world of love. So for example, if I really am in appreciation of the thoughts I have, the mistake I made, the failures, what happens outside of me, inside of me, I live in love. So for me, love is an appreciation and an acceptance of everything within and without.
I love that. And we were talking about energy as well. I believe that, every thought that we have and the manifestation or the representation or simply the act of love is energy, so obviously saying something nice to someone, a compliment, or saying a loving thing to someone is just good, positive energy. What's your thoughts regarding energy as such, and how connected it is to love and everything related to it?
Ooh, what a great question. So, yeah, so I believe we're energy being, and energy, the essence of energy is life. And life is love. A flower that grows is earth giving love to it. It's all the element giving love to it. For life to happen, for energy to happen, there has to be the essence of love. So most people think about love only through the positive energies. But I believe somebody hurting you is love coming your way, because it's meant to bring you to a higher level of realizing something about yourself and growing. So for me, love is not just positive energy. At the end of the day, in my opinion, there's no such thing as positive and negative energy. There's just energy. It's our mind that defined it as positive or negative. So for me, love is the essence of energy. And so love is behind every single thing within and without. And if you can start seeing that and connecting to that, you will see. Like my own individual past really has helped me to see everything that I experienced, from the bomb, the war, the immigration, was love, was my training, was building me to be what I'm supposed to be in my path, in my mission. It was love. And if you can see, all the bad is life helping you, refining you so that you can walk in your path purposefully. You'll see that love is everywhere.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Love is everywhere, and I love a quote that's all around the internet, which is, what would love to, and love would love. But I think one of the things that are mixed here, I think, for me, kind of when I was putting the love event together, people automatically kind of labeled it. People love putting labels. Oh, it's all about love, relationships, and well, no, it's not. Love is saying something kind. It's caring about someone. I love. I do these random things sometimes where when I don't know, I just go to someone. You look amazing today. Well, I love your shoes. Oh my God, your hair looks amazing. It's just it's something as simple as that. You can see them lighten up. And when I'm with my daughter, it really embarrasses. Oh my God, Dad, do you have to? I'm just being nice. Do you know what I mean? And it's not. I'm not flirting. I'm just simply trying to be nice. And because a compliment has such power. So when I put the love event together, everyone was looking at me with a bit strange. What Bernardo? What is he up to now? And we will continue to create this event, but it is really about definitely elevating consciousness and bringing the love bug, the love word to everything that we do, and in every form. One of the things that I think is challenging, and I'm generalizing here, but kind of I think in the US, when you look at obesity, or you look in the UK with obesity as well, is I think a lot of the issues that people have is they don't have self-love. And obviously, as you quite rightly pointed out before, love starts with yourself. It starts within. You have to love yourself, whatever it is that you are. Hey, take it or leave it. This is who I am. So kind of like, just be proud. What's your thoughts regarding self-love?
Yes. I mean, self-love starts with acceptance, So the first piece is acceptance, because you cannot have self-love if you don't accept every little things about you, your mistakes, your failure. So it's all about accepting. So can people start accepting that maybe they're flawed, and maybe those flaws are here for a reason, and they can see a positive purpose to their flaws potentially. So my concept about self-love, it's about acceptance. The next step, it's about shining light to who you are and your gift. And most people cannot see themselves. They just cannot. So you might need a friend to say, okay, Bernardo, who are you? And they will tell you, you're someone who always has a smile on your face. You're someone who wants to light up the world. You will know your gift and who you are. And sometimes it's in the eye of the beholder that you can find self-love. The next step is to figure out what interferes with you being the eye of the beholder. What interferes for you to see yourself the same way that people who love you see you. Remove those obstacles. See, what are they protecting you from? What's their function? So that you can figure out love and achieve self-love in a deeper level. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. The world.
Sorry. I was just saying that I love it. We could be talking here for hours. I was just I was just thinking that when you were saying that, ask a friend, I was just going to advise, ask a friend that loves you, okay? Because there's a lot of haters out there, and drop them. So kind of, I've dropped a few negative friends along the way. Not interested. Hashtag no negativity. That's one of my favorite ones. But the other thing is along the lines of what you were saying, is that I think in particular, people, well, Richard Bandler, for example, said he said, listen, you should be the person that you think your dog thinks you are. When you walk through the door, the dog is just like, he just seen you like an hour ago, and you just start jumping up and down and moving his tail, getting all excited. Well, you should be the person that your dog thinks you are. And your dog loves you for exactly who you are. And they're not looking at the size of your nose or the size of your feet or whatever it is that you think you've got wrong with you.
Such a good comment. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do agree with you on the fact of, like, everything that comes to you is showing. I believe everything teaches you a lesson. I think everything is meant to happen. I believe in serendipity. I believe in all these things, and and you just have to go with the flow sometimes. I in particular believe that, although, negative things can happen to you, I do believe that you need to surround yourself with people that embrace you, that love you for who you are, and want the best for you. And unfortunately, sometimes, either close friends or most likely sometimes family, will try to bring you down. And I think it's very important who you surround yourself with. What do you think? What do you think about? What do you think the world is going on? I'm experiencing a lot and writing a couple of books around love. And as I said, I wrote a quote the other day that love is not what you think it is. And what I mean by that is that your standards of love, or what you believe love should be, isn't necessarily, what someone else thinks is love. They might think that relationships are completely different, or they might think about, I don't know, having a friend, a close friend that you can be with when you want to. What do you think? Because I'm a bit concerned about where we're going with the apps, the technologies, everything that's happening now. And the fact of building good, strong relationships around love. That doesn't necessarily mean about having a couple for the rest of your life. Well, where do you think love is going? I've been asking that question. Where is love going? Where is it heading to?
I love that question. Again, I mean, I think it's in the eye of the beholder. I see love everywhere. So for me, I will show you how everything is leading towards closeness through the lack of closeness. So love is there through sometimes the bad. Sometimes you need to experience the bad to reconnect to what you lost, so that when you rediscover it, it's so strong. So my answer would be, we're definitely moving towards a consciousness of love. We're definitely moving towards a consciousness of unifying, being together. Now, that path might be through division. That path might be through hate and anger. That path might be through the negative. And so you need those to enlighten the other. Like, in some way, you need the bad to really have the good. And the worse it is, the more there is of the good. It goes together. It's the two sides of the same coin. So it all depends on you, which side of the coin do you want to connect to. So I like to connect to the side that is about love, and I see it everywhere through the bad.
Well, I agree with you. And I think every revolution that's happened in the world over the years, whatever, industrial, agricultural, educational, informational, has always been difficult. And then obviously wars, they have brought division, but then they brought beautiful unity. Every dark night, beautiful morning, every heavy storm then brings also a blue sky. So, I think these things are obviously interconnected, and they need to happen, quite rightly, as you're pointing out, for us to be able to evolve, to grow. And I hope, and I agree, I think that we are evolving and moving towards elevating our consciousness to many different levels in ways that we weren't before. And because, we can't stop the level of information that's out there, and it's just going to grow exponentially. I think we're on a beautiful path, I think, in the next 3 to 5 years. I wanted to share with you. Because I love the way you say love. But I've been doing this. No, I love how you say it. I'm going to ask you. Can you please say it again?
Love.
You see, you stretch the O. I've been doing that for a long time, Dr. Yasmine. I've been doing this on stage because every time I was talking about love, I always would, listen, we're going to be talking about love. And I would do this anchor with my hand, so I would do it on stage 3 or 4 times. And I had to do it. And I would, guys, we're here to share love. And I would have it with the whole stage. So it's been so funny for me to hear you say, I just love how you say it. So it's been great to find a colleague that says love just like I do.
That's amazing. You're so funny. Like, my pronunciation is, my daughter comments a lot on my pronunciation. So the fact that you did is so fascinating. You pick up something. That's great.
Listen, you pronounce love the way it should be pronounced. You pronounce it love. It's just extended. These guys, these English people, don't know how to pronounce it. You brought the French into it. I brought the Latino into it. So it's just lovely. Thank you so much. So listen, you've been sharing. Let's get serious here. We're talking about love. So you've been you're working on your book. You're working on your podcast. You're working on reaching more people. What's next for you? What's next for you specifically related to? Well, I would like to know about you professionally. What's next? What excites Dr. Yasmine, who still looks 28 and obviously has so much more to do?
What excites me is to share my message. It's really to share my message, to have an impact. And there's really two aspects to have an impact. I love making sense of things. Things have to make sense to me. And so that idea of making sense makes me go deeper in understanding why negative is here, what is it for? And I love going deep and I love understanding people. So for me, it's about impact and it's about changing the world. My big thing is create a movement of love, as you're doing. So it's so good because I believe at the core, we all have that same consciousness and same level. And there's some people that are here to blow the wind on your light so that you learn to keep your light up and going. So I believe your job is to always learn to keep your light going. And so what I want is to help people keep their light going. And so not necessarily separate from the negative, but learn to live with it, learn to be in it and still be in light.
Well, listen, we're blessed to have you, and you're not going to run out of people needing your services. If anything, it's just going to grow exponentially, isn't it? It's like being a barber or a butcher; it's always going to be there. So you're in a beautiful business, but you're doing it with so much style, and you're bringing so much to the table, I think, and so it was an honor to meet you, and I'm very blessed to have been able to connect with you today. So, any last thoughts? Obviously, if you would like to share kind of your webpage, we're going to put all the information on the podcast. But if you would like to share any last thoughts and obviously your contact details, it'd be amazing.
Yes. So anybody who's interested in decoding their thoughts and emotion, reach out. I really have 2 websites. I have my group practice website, which is madisonparkpsych.com, and my own personal website, yasminesaad.com. You can reach in either, both. And then, of course, you can Google me, find me on IG, Dr. Yasmine Saad. It's very, very easy to find me. And I'm looking forward to helping more people and showing people the path to love.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Yasmine. Thank you so much, everyone that was listening, watching here today. And yes, it's all about love. So thank you so much. Take care. Lots of love to all of you. Thank you, Dr. Yasmine.
Thank you so much, Bernardo.